Welcome to the Folk School on Willow Creek, featuring University Distinguished Professor Tom Easern, singing and telling stories from the Salon on Willow Creek.
I need a bed for the night, boys, and my horses need hay. I've been riding that grub line on the hot-dish highway. Now the long freight of autumn goes smoking out of the land. My possibles are all packed up, but still I do not leave. I'm happy enough here, where Dakota drifts wild, where the prairie shakes in the surf of a winter door. The birds have flown their summer skies to the south. The flower money is drying in the banks of McGrath. The bumblebee has abandoned. We wait for a winter line. Now the long freight of autumn goes smoking out of the land. Possible we're all packed up, but still I do not leave. Happy enough here, where Dakota drifts wild, where the prairie shakes in the surf of a winter door. Now a month ago, from the salt engines of the sea, a machinery of early storms rode toward the holiday houses where summer still dozed in the poolside chairs, sipping aging whiskey of distances and departures. Now the long freight of autumn goes smoking out of the land. My possibles are all packed up, still I do not leave. I'm happy enough here, where Dakota drifts wild, where the prairie shakes in the surf of a winter door. Now the long freight of autumn goes smoking. Now the long freight of autumn goes smoking. Now the long freight of autumn goes smoking, and she's gone. Good evening this Friday night, friends and neighbors. And it is, I am happy enough here right now. We're tucked into the Salon on Willow Creek on a beautiful evening. There's a beagle around here somewhere, but down here right at my feet is a Labrador Retriever who is absolutely unconscious, and that means she's content too. Welcome to this place. I hope it's a good one where you are right now also. What you just heard, I don't know. I think this is right up there with the greatest piece of short form poetry ever to emanate from North Dakota. Beyond the Red River by Tom McGrath. Tom McGrath, an amazingly talented and often controversial figure in our part of the country. Now, Dr. Kelly has spoken and written about a literary efflorescence that took place here, on the order of half a century ago, and for a decade or two after that. And she knows it sort of by apostolic succession, having worked with people like Mark Vins, who, didn't just touch the hem of the garment. They were in the mix of it. At the center, except he's a tough one to make the center because of his controversial, predilections, politics for one thing. There was McGrath. It's always McGrath. Now, hon, you do know him by your connections at Minnesota State University, Moorhead. Mm-hmm. He also has his connections at North Dakota State University. And in order to give people a little bit of a sense of who Tom McGrath was, this won't take too long here. I'm going to give you a little something here. This is from the Encyclopedia of the Great Plains. A lot of us who work on prairie history wrote chapters or articles for the Encyclopedia of the Great Plains, and I happened to notice the author of a blurb on Tom McGrath, 1916 to 1990, was none other than Tom Matchey of North Dakota State University, who was a good friend of mine in the 1990s, back when, by God, state universities had professors of literature who loved books, poetry, and the learning of literature. Okay, so here's what he says about McGrath, who he knew well personally, of course. I met McGrath only once myself. Perhaps America's most talented political poet. Get that? Perhaps America's most talented political poet. Thomas Matthew McGrath was a man dedicated to protest. Born on November 20th, 1916, and raised on a farm near the tiny plains town of Sheldon, North Dakota. He returned there through his poetry to relate the simple struggles of his boyhood in the 1920s. The family farm fell into the hands of bankers in the Great Depression. It is such hardships as well as joys that he captures in his poems, especially his best and longest, the semi-autobiographical Letter to an Imaginary Friend. Tom McGrath's father was influenced by the Wobblies. He was a storyteller who read poems and sang to his son on the farm. Tom grew up respecting the working man, and the rhythms and images of the threshing machine influenced his poetry. I think I've told you when I met McGrath in Bismarck, this is in the 80s, and Larry Remley there had set him up to read the threshing scene from Letter to an Imaginary Friend because I was in the front row of the audience there. Yeah. As a young adult, he rode the rails in the early 1940s. He worked as a welder and union organizer in New York shipyards. He still found time to earn his Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of North Dakota in 1939, his master's from Louisiana State a year later, Rhodes Scholarship to study at Oxford, but delayed it till after the Second World War, during which he served reluctantly in the Aleutian Islands. 1954, McGrath was ousted from a teaching job at Los Angeles State College of Applied Arts and Sciences for his views and his refusal to testify before the House Committee on Un-American Activities. And then it relates to his later career, how he came out to teach first at North Dakota State University in 1962, and after that years at Moorhead State University, as it was still known then, 68 to 1982. Took leaves and traveled Europe and Mexico, published prolifically, many honors for his poetry, including an American Book Award for Echoes Inside the Labyrinth in 1983. Died in Minneapolis, 1990. There. Rest in peace. All respect to Tom McGrath. Well, I don't know. It's downhill from that, huh? As for the music, there's no tune to that. It was a poem by McGrath, which I worked into stanzaic form a little bit and then set to a tune. I have to admit I'm fairly pleased with the tune. That long train of autumn, long freight of autumn. Mm-hmm. We're shifting gears a little bit to an old cowboy ballad. Little Joe the Wrangler, it's known. It's a favorite at cowboy poetry gatherings here yet in the 21st century. But taken to trouble to work out and detail its origins. And those of you who haven't seen us go through this ritual before, we are putting Little Joe the Wrangler into the songbag, the Willow Creek songbag, by documenting it and essentially inducting it into the catalog, the canon of worthy balladry on the Great Plains tonight. Dr. Kelly is going to lead off with this by telling us a bit of the provenance of the ballad Little Joe the Wrangler.
I'm happy to. This favorite ballad of cowboy poets and singers has a specific origin story generated by its self-declared author, N. Howard Jack Thorpe, a pioneering collector and, it seems, author of cowboy songs. Thorpe was an educated New Yorker who, when his father lost his fortune, came to the cattle ranges of New Mexico and found work. He took an interest in the songs being sung on the range and carried a mandolin banjo, a hybrid instrument that enjoyed modest popularity in America following its patent in 1882 by a New York inventor, Benjamin Bradbury. In 1889, Thorpe commenced a collecting tour of cow camps on the southern plains, which led ultimately to his first significant published collection of cowboy songs, Songs of the Cowboys, self-published in 1908. The first song in Thorpe's collection was Little Joe the Wrangler, but no author attribution was given. Indeed, of the songs in the book, Thorpe declared, "I plead ignorant of the authorship of them." Nevertheless, when Thorpe published an expanded collection in 1921, he claimed Little Joe the Wrangler as his own, writing, "Written by me on trail of herd of O cattle from Chimney Lake, New Mexico to Higgins, Texas, 1898. On trail were the following men, all from Sacramento Mountains or Crow Flat: Pap Logan, Bill Blevins, Will Brownfield, Will Fenton, Lige Colfelt, Tom Muse, Frank Jones, and myself." In his memoir, Pardoner of the Wind, Thorpe gives further details that he composed the ballad by the campfire with a stub of a pencil and an old paper bag, and that he sang it to the tune of Little Old Log Cabin in the Lane. Later, he says, he sang the song in a saloon in Weed, New Mexico, after which it became one of the most widely sung and best liked of cowboy songs. Such level of popularity by word of mouth is not evident in the newspaper or other documentary record. The song did circulate, however, to be picked up by Lomax and published in his collection, Cowboy Songs and Other Frontier Ballads, in 1910. The ballad moved into the realm of popular culture with its recording by Jules Verne Allen, the self-declared original singing cowboy, for Victor Records in El Paso in 1928. Allen frequently sang the song for his many radio appearances. Allen's popularization of Little Joe the Wrangler likely was the impetus behind the adaptation of the ballad published in the newspaper of Panhandle Agricultural and Mechanical College in Goodwell, Oklahoma in 1935.
And some context on it.
The ballad tells the tragic story of a cattle outfit's horse wrangler, Little Joe, which evokes the legendary character of his occupation. On the modern range, the wrangler, the manager of the herd of riding mounts for an establishment, the wrangler is respected as a repository of expertise in all matters equine, and is expected to keep the stock in good health and order. On the open range, in the age of cattle drives, however, the wrangler was commonly a young green hand, subject to a fair amount of heckling. Folklorist J. Frank Dobie describes the evolution and legend of the horse wrangler in an article for the Quarter Horse Journal. Range photographer Irwin E. Smith captures the sometimes solitary nature of the wrangler's job in his iconic photograph of 1910, The Horse Wrangler. Was Little Joe a real, verifiable person of the cattle range? Scholars of Western balladry have interpreted comments by Jack Thorpe to the effect that there was such a real person who suffered the unfortunate demise described in the ballad. A closer reading of Thorpe, however, indicates that Little Joe is a fictional character.
Now, for those who may not have been through this ritual with us before, we have annotated Little Joe the Wrangler, which means there are footnotes in our text here. And as I sing the ballad, Dr. Kelly will be delivering the annotation. Good?
Yep, ready.
Now it's Little Joe the Wrangler will wrangle nevermore. His days with the remuda, they are done.
Remuda, from the Spanish remudar, meaning to exchange or re-exchange. Remuda de caballos means relay of horses. The cowman uses the word to mean the extra mounts of each cowboy herded together and not at the time under saddle. Also called remonta, this latter word a corruption of the Spanish remonta. The word is pronounced remuda in the Southwest, but most Texas cowboy merely say horses. The remuda is the Southwest what the cavvy is to the Northwest, though the Northwestern cowboy usually called these horses the saddle band, from Adams in Western words.
And back up to footnote 14. Little Joe the Wrangler will wrangle nevermore.
Wrangler, a herder of the saddle horses. It is the duty of this man or boy to see that the horses are kept together and at hand when wanted for the work. The word is a corruption of the Mexican cabrango, meaning hostler. His job is considered the most menial in cow work, and he does not stand very high in a cow camp. He rides the sorriest horse in the outfit and is the butt of all the jokes of a dozen cowhands. Yet his job is a training school, and many good cowboys have gotten their start in a wrangler's job. By studying the characteristics of the various horses, he saves himself much work and grief. He knows which are apt to be bunch quitters, which are fighters, and which are afraid of their own shadows. The arrival of stray men with their strings adds to his cares, and he has more horses to get acquainted with. Although it can rarely be said, the greatest praise that can be bestowed upon a wrangler is that he never lost a horse. From Ramon F. Adams, Western Words, a Dictionary of the Range, Cow Camp, and Trail, published at University of Oklahoma Press, 1945.
'Twas a year ago last April, he joined the outfit here, just a little Texas stray, and all alone. 'Twas long late in the evening, he rode up to the herd, on a little old brown pony he called Chaw. With his brogan shoes and overalls, a harder-looking kid you never in your life had seen before. His saddle was a southern cack built many years ago.
Cack, a slang word for saddle, from Adams in Western Words.
An oak clay spur from one foot idly hung.
Okay was a style of spur manufactured by the Berman Manufacturing Company. A German from Hanover, August Berman, came to the U.S. in 1864, served in the Federal Army, and soon after the war bought a spur company. Berman, which became the largest spur maker in the United States, made hundreds of styles of spurs, the most popular of which was the inexpensive OK.
While his hot roll in a cotton sack was loosely tied behind.
Hot roll, the cowboy's bedroll.
And a canteen from the saddle horn he'd slung. He said he'd had to leave his home, his daddy'd married twice, and his new ma beat him every day or two. So he saddled up old Chaw one night and lit a shuck this way. Lit a shuck?
Light a shuck? To leave in a hurry, a quick departure. According to Adams, the phrase originated from the custom of keeping corn shucks by a campfire, so that a person leaving the fireside could light one and use it to light his way. When he lit a shuck, he had to leave quickly before his light burned out.
He lit a shuck this way, thought he'd try and paddle now his own canoe. Said he'd try to do the best he could if we'd only give him work, though he didn't know straight up about a cow. So the boss, he cut him out a mound and kinda put him on, for he's sorta like the little stray somehow. Taught him how to herd the horses and to learn to know them all, to round them up by daylight if he could, to follow the chuck wagon and to always hitch the team and help the cocinero rustle wood.
Cocinero, a corruption of the Spanish word cocinero, meaning cook, sometimes rendered as cusi.
Well, we'd driven to Red River and the weather had been fine. We were camped down on the south side in a bend, when a norther commenced blowing and we doubled up our guards, for it took all hands to hold the cattle then. Little Joe the Wrangler was called out with the rest, and scarcely had the kit got to the herd, when the cattle they stampeded like a hailstorm long they flew, and all of us were riding for the lead. Between streaks of lightning we could see a horse far out ahead. It was little Joe the Wrangler in the lead. He was riding old Blue Rocket with his slicker above his head, trying to check the leaders in their speed. Now at last we got 'em millin' and kinda quieted down.
As Adam explains, in the event of a stampede, the riders make every effort to gain a position alongside the lead cattle and try to lead them into a milling circle.
And the extra guard back to camp did go, but one of them was missing, and we all knew at a glance 'twas our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. Next morning, just at sunup, we found where Rocket fell, down in a washout 20 feet below. Beneath his horse, smashed to a pulp, his horse had rung the knell for our little Texas stray, poor Wrangler Joe. It's little Joe the Wrangler, he'll wrangle nevermore. His days with the remuda, they are done. Oh, any tears dropping there, Dr. K, for little Joe? I'm pretty sure he's a fictional character.
Ooh, Aaron Barks notes, there's nothing better than footnotes.
Nothing?
Yay!
Oh, my work here is done. That context you mentioned did mention that we'll get some other time. We'll come around to the text of Little Joe the Wrangler, written by J.E. Gardner and published in the Panhandle Collegian out in the Panhandle of Oklahoma in 1935. But not for tonight. Also, we might get into Jules Allen's interesting family history, since he appears to have had a lost daughter in Rutland, North Dakota, the home of the world's largest hamburger.
That's a lot of information to us.
Yes, I thought it was a little much just for tonight. That's it for Little Joe the Wrangler. Oh, you don't have any photos handy that you could pull off your timeline of our strapping great-grandson, do you?
Not that I can get off my phone while we're hooked up to the Mevo.
We'll have to put them up there.
Okay,
afterward.
if we have to.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the story is okay. This actually pertains to whatever we're about to do here. Story is, I always have really good ideas for naming kids, grandkids, and now great grandkids. Nobody ever takes my ideas. You know, they're such a good one. I was lobbying heavily prior to the birth of our first great grandchild here in August for Badger. And people thought that, was, that the pugnacious burrowing animal. But of course, I'm talking about Badger Clark, the first poet laureate of South Dakota, Badger Clark. Author of A Border Affair, Spanish is the Loving Tongue, many another song, and what I'm going to grace you with tonight, A Cowboy's Prayer. Up above this video on the Plains Folk timeline, you'll see several things I posted earlier this evening. One of them is a shout out to our friend Ken Schmier of Ellendale, North Dakota, who's coming off the heels of some real medical difficulties, perilous ones, back home again with his crazy cats and a new photograph exhibit up in Aberdeen, South Dakota. A new exhibit of his work. How he got that done in the condition he's been in lately, I don't know. Perhaps some of his friends whom we know pitched in on that, but I'm not sure. Take a look at that stuff about Ken Schmier, and then while you're looking at it, you'll find a link to an article in Smithsonian Magazine about Badger Clark, America's forgotten cowboy poet. Now, the song, we are in celebratory mode tonight, although we've already eaten the pie, so too late for that. But celebratory mode for Willow Creek Folk School number 150. 150. This started in the early days of the COVID outbreak as we were going into isolation here at our house, and we thought, well, how will we maintain some connection with the public? And me being an old folkie from the 70s, I said, here's something I've been thinking about. Let's go live every week, and we'll call it the Willow Creek Folk School. We're going to sing all those songs that I studied with Bill Berenson at Bethany College and used to sing with Bill Cook at Kansas State and all that sort of stuff. And it'd be Old Home Week. It's going to be a feel-good thing. And then it became so much more when we discovered the potential for new and original research on old ballads, finding the original texts of long-known ballads, but their origins not known until we dug them up. And then discovering, oh my God, there's a whole body of other ballads that were all the rage a century and more ago, but have dropped out of circulation. And so we're building a whole new canon, if you put it in literary terms, of balladry on the Great Plains of North America with original texts, successor quality texts, and whole new discoveries in the realm of balladry. It seemed appropriate on a celebratory occasion to offer a prayer. And that's where Badger Clark comes in. His well-known Cowboy's Prayer, it's often spoken at a cowboy poetry gathering. It would be spoken at cowboy church, where people have a worship service horseback. And it always seemed eminently singable to me, and it turned out that it is. I like the legend under the title when he published these stanzas in Sun and Saddle Leather. The legend is written for Mother. Well, those who know me and my family background may then recognize the origin of this little black bear that overlooks the folk school most every night there. Cowboy's Prayer, Badger Clark. Lord, I've never lived where churches grow. I love creation better as it stood. The way you finished it so long ago, looked upon your work and called it good. I know that others find you in the light that sifted down through tinted window pane. Yet I see night. In this dim, quiet starlight on the plain, I thank you, Lord, that I am placed so well. You have made my freedom so complete that I'm no slave of a whistle, clock, or bell, nor a weak-eyed prisoner of Walden Street. Just let me live my life as I've begun. Give me work that's open to the sky. Make me a partner of the wind and sun. I won't ask a life that's soft and high. I won't ask a life that's soft or high. Let me be easy on the man that's down. Let me be square and generous with all. I'm careless sometimes, Lord, when I'm in town, but never let them say I'm mean or small. Make me as big and open as a plane, as honest as the horse between my knees, clean as the wind that blows behind the rain, free as the hawk that circles down the breeze. Forgive me, Lord, sometimes I forget. You know about the reasons that are here. You understand the things that gall and fret. You know me better than my mother did. Just keep an eye on all that's said and done. Right me sometimes when I turn aside. Guide me on the long dim trail ahead. Stretches upward toward the great divide. Oh, it stretches upward toward the great divide. Dr. K, you got any plans tomorrow?
I do, but that's a pretty big transition from that song, which is just beautiful. Yeah, but if people have been watching our NDSU Press Facebook page and maybe some of our friends posting, tomorrow we will letterpress print the covers of our 9th Poetry of the Plains and Prairies chapbook. So we are meeting 13 students, rotating in and out throughout the day at the Hunter Times Museum, which is located at Bonanzaville. Starting at about 10 o'clock tomorrow throughout the day and on into the afternoon, we'll be printing all those covers, and it gives the students a chance to learn about the history and the usage and the safety of running those 1800s letterpress machinery.
And you're wingman tomorrow for whom?
For Alan Burke out of he lives out in the Braddock area, and he masterminds the Braddock News Letterpress Print Museum, where students and I will go in October to print all the insides of the.
So they're doing the covers
chapbook
tomorrow.
We're doing the covers tomorrow, and we have quite a few people coming in and out. So Dr. Kyle Vanderberg, who assists the press with acquisitions, but also a variety of other tasks that come up. He was helping Alan today get the equipment set up. So Kyle will be out there tomorrow. Our author is going to be there. He lives within driving distance, so Brendan Sturmer will be joining us. That's great when the authors can come and see how it works. We haven't had that happen for quite a while. So Bonnie Larson-Steiger was able to come up and watch her books being printed. Denise Lajmodier, Larry Wywoody. So it's nice to have an author that will be on site again while we're doing this.
Well, and then the next day, you and I have a date.
We do have a date.
One of the things you'll find posted above this video on the Plains Folk timeline also is a calendar of heritage events, and that includes, there are links in there, a whole bunch of things happening on Sunday the 17th, fall suppers, like the lutefisk feed at Nora Lutheran, and we will, by God, be there.
We'll be there.
One of us is going to eat lutefisk.
Yes, one of us is. I'll have some meatballs, thank you.
But you'll find that the same day, we're getting deep into fall supper season. St. Helena's Catholic of Ellendale, they're serving a fall dinner. They call it a fall dinner if it's a noon meal, fall supper if it's evening. This is I can tell that lutefisk feed at Nora is a classy affair. This is outstanding, particularly their pie table that they spread out there in Ellendale on Sunday. St. Brigid's in Cavalier serving a turkey dinner on Sunday 11 o'clock to 1:30. At Wimbledon, North Dakota, home of
Peggy Lee. But she wasn't born there. She lived there.
But it was her home for a number of years. St. Boniface Catholic Church is running a feed. You'll see the flyer and the poster for that. And finally, St. Anthony of Linton, evening meal on Sunday at their club hall. We've been to that one too.
Can we make more than one?
We should go all of them. All of them.
I don't know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, one cannot do that. Do we have any guests with us on the timeline?
We do have some folks chiming in, and I see that Kathy Neal says it's Applejack weekend in Nebraska City. Are you familiar with that?
I don't know, but tell her to post something about it.
Maybe some details would be helpful.
Yeah. You mentioned Dr. Barth was checking in?
Well, yeah, our fan of footnotes.
Yes, indeed. But nobody's giving you any trouble.
No, people seem to be just sitting back and enjoying the program, I guess.
And good to have them here. There's still time to get out to a few things here before winter sets in, before that long freight of autumn goes smoking from the land. And we'll be taking in some fall suppers here. It's our way of touching base with some communities spangled across the landscape in this part of the country. And in fact, we got a ballad about that, which has got a very original title. It's called The Fall Supper Song.
How will I remember that?
And that's kind of our closing number for tonight, to work up an appetite. They come from Seattle, they come from St. Paul. They all drive back home this one day in the fall. When it's fall supper time on the prairies each year, that's when all the prodigal sons appear, singing to rely, oh rely, oh rely, lie. Now pour me some coffee and cut me some pie. While titular farmers are making the rounds, taking in the fall supper and putting on pounds. There's a hard winter coming, they need to bulk up. We do not begrudge them whatever they sup. Sing it to rely, oh rely, oh rely, lie. Pour me some coffee and bring me some pie. Then the locusts descend every even-numbered year. Politicians are seeking themselves to endear to the diners, but instead of just taking up space, they should make themselves useful in the kitchen someplace. Singing to-ra-la, oh-ra-la, oh-ra-la-la. Now pour me some coffee and bring me some pie. Now I get pretty tired mashing spuds, yes I do. Sometimes I fill in on the gravy crew too. Someday I'll be an elder, I'm longing for that. I'll sit and sell tickets and just chew the fat, singing to-ra-la, oh-ra-la, oh-ra-la-la. Pour me some coffee and bring me some pie. Some say that autumn, it's the end of it all. I say it's a time of renewal in fall. We can all come together at the table of grace, and we feel a lot better when we're in this place. Singing to-ra-la, oh-ra-la, oh-ra-la-la. Pour me some coffee and cut me some pie. Where the deer and the antelope play. Now the long train of autumn goes smoking, smoking out of the land. Possible they're all packed up, but still I do not leave. I'm happy now here, where Dakota drifts wild, where the prairie shakes in the surf of the winter dark, where the deer and the antelope play. And it's little Joe the Wrangler, he'll wrangle nevermore. His days at the Remuda, they are done. 'Twas a year ago last April, he walked into our fall supper, just a little Texas stray and all alone. Just let me live my life as I've begun. Give me work that's open to the sky. Make me a partner of the wind and sun. I won't ask a life that's soft or high. I won't ask a life that's soft or high. Some say that autumn is the end of it all. I say that it's the best of all, where the deer and the antelope play, where seldom is heard a discouraging word, and the skies are not cloudy, are not cloudy all the day. No, the skies are not cloudy all day. Thank you everyone for being with us for the 150th Willow Creek Folk School. Thank you, Dr. Kelly, for putting up with this. And do you have anything to say in closing?
I do. We now conclude today's edition of the Folk School on Willow Creek. We invite you to join us again next Friday at 8 p.m. Central Time for more songs and stories.